Hey, Christopher, welcome to the new year. How you doing?
Really fantastic. How about you, David?
I'm charged. I finally feel like we've engaged in the new year. Finally, a couple weeks in, and it feels like one.
Yeah, it really has been interesting because it's not like it was a rough transition. It was a bizarre transition. And we've seen a lot of people being affected by that placement of Pluto in Capricorn. As the new year came into being, we had a lot of activity right around 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 degrees Capricorn. And it was causing, I think, a lot of stuff that people had been suppressing for the last year or 2 years or 3 years to finally, volcanically almost come to the surface. So there was a lot of weird out there, no matter where you went. But now we're getting more of a sense of our land legs and starting to see a stabilization finally. So the weird energy, I think, is going to start to temper off.
Yeah, I mean, we went through a really intense cardinal cross dealing with Mars. That first of the year, actually since Christmas, we've had Mars in a big cardinal cross as it's been pressured, and Mars in Libra already has a little bit of pressure because it's in the opposite sign of Mars. So finally, this weekend, Mars comes out of this. And even though Mars will come back into this as it retrogrades in the next couple months, we are out of it for a while. And this is going to be a lighter load. And I think have that Mars and Libra energy, have that peaceful vibe come back into our lives. And that grounding you talk of really has come back.
Yeah, it definitely is here. It's upon us. One of the things I always get a kick out of is how Mars and Uranus have a very similar vibration, just like Venus and Jupiter have a similar vibration. You can always look at the inner and outer planets and find, parallel energies there. And Uranus and Mars, when they're together in a harmonious combination, they are super. They are intense. They are door openers. They're, expect the unexpected, have a great time. But when they're squaring and when they're in oppositional positions, they can really cause a lot of internal conflict. And that's really what all this is about. All of the astrology that we're talking about here, it's not the external world. I mean, the external world is what you're seeing because that's where your attention is drawn. You can have two individuals who see the exact same scene, and one guy sees something hideous and the other guy sees something beautiful. So it's really your perspective, and when you're looking at the activity of Mars and Uranus in your own personal chart, you'll really get a sense of what is going on within you, where your conflict is, because those two particular planets are our energizers, there are serendipitous kind of energies, there are inspiration, and when they're not happy, you're feeling it inside. So yes, as Mars is moving away from that opposition to Uranus, things are going to calm down a lot.
Yeah, this Mars Uranus and plus Mars has been squaring Jupiter, which adds a lot more to the intensity of it all. And Mars had been squaring Pluto, which, brings up a deeper, darker, more intense kind of underworld vibe. So every direction that Mars has been going, it's been in this really funky zone. And poor Mars in Libra, just know any Libra, Libras don't do well in the middle of a firestorm like that. And we're gonna move out of that, and we come into a very karmic weekend. We're having Venus retrograde past the Sun, and Venus is doing this beautiful act of leaving the evening star and moving to the morning star, and we can't see her right now. And this is usually a really karmic event. The last time we had this was on June 5th, 2012, when it happened in Gemini, but then it was an eclipse. So this one won't be an eclipse of Venus, but it's a really unique energy because if you don't understand astrology too well, having Venus pass the Sun like this is a lot like how we kind of have a new moon, how the moon will pass the Sun, when we have an eclipse and so forth. And Venus did that in June of 2012. And here it is doing it again, but it's not going to eclipse. We're not going to be able to see it happen. but it's happening. And this is dealing with relationships. This is dealing with our deep core values and what we're manifesting. And we're having to take a really deep look inside and see where is this all going here? Where is our stories going? Because there's a lot happening in our lives, I think, at this spot, and a lot that we've gone through.
Well, and there's a lot of potential that is starting to become visible. You know, that's what I like about the activity of Venus, is it definitely, very much like Jupiter, has that nature of possibility. And I think more so because it is a very intimate planet. You know, Venus is the core of your day-to-day existence. So here we've got a planet that right now is not visible unless you're really got eyes of an eagle and can get out there during the day and see it, because it's off the charts at night. But it's also moving backwards toward Pluto. So as it continues to advance in that direction of Pluto, the last residue of all these things that have been trying to become visible, trying to surface within us, is going to finally break the surface, and we'll be able to identify these things.
Yeah, talk about going deep down. Venus is getting ready to pass the sun, come back to that Pluto, and just sit there as it goes stationary direct here in a couple weeks. So over the remainder of January, we're going to go deeper than I think we even all realize into this story, go way down into the depths of the underworld. And, you know, the ancients looked at Venus passing the sun as going into the underworld because we don't see her up in the sky anymore. We don't see Venus. And Venus has always been also very closely related as either the sister of Earth or a sibling of Earth. And, you know, it's Earth's on its own. You know, it doesn't have its sibling next to it that we can see right now. And so Earth's in a very weird zone, karmic zone, as I always look at this as rearranging the chessboard with people and, you know, relationships and plans, especially because in Capricorn this is strategy. Oh, thank you, Kat.
And the cat is in total agreement, obviously.
He's in total agreement. He's trying to rearrange the chessboard right now. And you know, the whole way that my cat just jumped up here, there's a lot of weird jumping around and certain things happening. People are jumpy right now. Mars has gone through a lot. You know, this energy almost maybe wants to be released. This could be tension, especially as we're building up for a full moon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, big full moon next Thursday. It's kind of fun when we're recording this on the actual Friday release date, so this is kind of a new venue for us. But the other thing with the weekend is we're going to watch Mercury make that final passage out of Capricorn. And Mercury really likes Capricorn. You know, it's communicating about the day-to-day activities in our life. But then it hits Aquarius, and it is really enhanced in that Aquarian energy. So we're going to be noticing people are much more social over the weekend, want to engage, want to have dialogue. And that's going to stick around now for about 3.5 weeks, where Mercury is doing this very intense advance through Aquarius in preparation for its next, journey into Pisces and ultimately a retrograde. So nice weekend to get out, socialize, have fun. The Mars stress energy is winding down. The Mercury communication energy is getting ratcheted up. And I think that we're going to see people really getting loose and free and happy over this weekend, whereas before they were a little bit stiff. They were still a little bit restricted.
Yeah, Mercury coming through Aquarius is a big deal, especially as Mercury's going to go through all of Aquarius really fast. Then it's going to come into Pisces, stop in March, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's February, and then retrograde back. And come back into Aquarius as well. And so this Aquarius zone, where there's a lot to wrap our heads around. And Mercury coming into Aquarius does really well. This is really going to spark things up. This will make this new year seem more exciting again. It will really pull us into really looking at things and coming up with some new ideas. I think this sparks new ideas. And with a Venus retrograding now past the sun, we're going really deep into our consciousness this week, especially as it's going to be at the midpoint between the sun and Pluto. That's a very intense zone to be in as Mercury's coming in. And we have this full moon coming, which is in Cancer, which is going to oppose all of this Capricorn energy. And it's going to come over Jupiter. And this is a big full moon. This one's really dealing with how our emotions are reacting to the story of our lives, to the relationships, to these really big changes that we've gone through. I think that we've almost been maybe kind of emotionless through these changes, and we really haven't had to have the full hit yet. And it's almost like the universe is coming in with a full hit by the middle of this week when that full moon really shines bright, because the moon's going to step into the cardinal cross, and and there's a lot of energy in a cross now, and it's really going to highlight the emotional aspect of our stress, of our anxieties, of the pressure to move on in our life. And this Capricorn energy is a lot of work. Capricorn's about work, and this full moon might want to just say, leave that work. There's comfort zones we need, and with Mercury in Aquarius, there is a caution to be a little bit careful, because we could want to say screw it all and leave this all and say some really crazy stuff, especially as the moon squares the nodes this week too.
Right. It's definitely going to get in on the action with the nodes. It's actually the moon right now is in Taurus, so it's already activated the nodes, and as it continues to advance here and progress into Gemini, we're going to see a lot of communication misfires. We're going to have to watch what we're saying and listen carefully to what other people are saying. And then it's going to finally nail Jupiter in Cancer. And I think that's when we're really going to see the effects of this full moon. It's when it hits about the 13th, 12th, 13th degree of Cancer. I see that as being more eventful than the opposition of Pluto. I think that it's going to create a polarity where you can see both sides of the coin as it opposes Pluto and Capricorn. But then when it hits Jupiter, it's going to rip the blindfold off. And you're going to see the things that are going on in your world with almost an acute level of clarity. And this is, one of two full moons that all the tribal peoples were very, very sensitive to. This is the wolf moon, and the next full moon coming up will be the snow moon, or the heavy snow moon, or the deep snow moon. So both of these were in, their energy is around that idea of the intense need for community to bond together, to huddle together, and to be supportive. But you're also going to have a certain element of cabin fever that's going to come up in social activity and social relationships. So with this hunter's moon, with this wolf's moon, which is what we're at now, this is the moon of the wolf, a lot, just by looking at and associating where it's located in the sign of Cancer. What is Cancer? That's the home, that's the family, that's where the soup pot is, that's where we huddle around the fire and tell stories is. With the winter winds blowing outside our door, we have to accommodate that sense of collectively bonding together to survive the winter cold. So this is a very interesting full moon. It's going to have a lot of implications. It has a tremendous potential to bring people together in a very nurturing and loving way, because again, you got Jupiter there in Cancer trying to nurture, and then you'll have the moon crossing over that Jupiter. So it could be a really incredibly good and healing full moon for a lot of people.
Yeah, this is about unions. Mercury really is going to bring that community vibe. I think that's what's been lacking in this Venus retrograde is, Capricorn is so restrictive and so grounded and so strategic that, it's like a very quiet chess game that's been going on. But we move into this full moon, and now Mercury in Aquarius, and now we want to build some teams. We want to we really start to see, I think, this deeper meaning of what's happening in these relationship energies. Because I don't know about you, Chris, but in my world, it's been going crazy with relationship stuff all over the place, everywhere. And so it's just, there's something brewing. And I feel this full moon, like you brought up, I think especially as it comes over Jupiter, will unveil a big way, as there's huge lessons here about these emotions that add to this quiet chess game going on. And they're big. It's like a chess game being interrupted, you know, by a big emotional thing. And so things really get interesting. And of course, things will be squaring Mars still, as Mars now is going to start to square Venus this week. This makes it, I think, even really difficult about what direction to take in relationships, our value systems. This is also masculine and feminine energies and certain people working different ways. So Mars, even though it's come out of a cardinal cross, I'd say, it's now entering some other, squares with Venus, which will probably, in my opinion, especially as everything we've talked about today, really bring everything into maybe some stress in some relationships. I think this could really bring out some good things in relationships, but I think with just as much good, there might be just as much stress,
Well, and I think that the people who are sensitive and are willing to work with the system will discover that this actually is going to reinvent relationships in some subtle way. And if it's a good relationship, it will refine it. If it's a bad relationship, then you're going to become even more aware of the negative aspects of the relationship. Because once again, ultimately playing into this huge lineup of planetary activity, we're going to have Saturn exerting its influence. And whenever you have a trine, and the moon will be in trine to Saturn in Scorpio, you basically open up a channel. So it's not so much a matter of good or bad, but it's just simply there is a gate that is wide open. So if you're focused on the negative stuff, then that's going to go flowing through that gate at an accelerated pace. If you're focusing on the positive stuff, the same thing. So again, it's not that the planets are affecting you. You are able to transform and adapt and evolve as a result of being conscious of what the planets are telling us about the activity and the range of focus that's going on in the world around us.
Yeah, and you have the control yourself. That's Capricorn. Capricorn has a really good grip on the wheel. And that's the lesson, too, is how do you navigate correctly to, reach the right accomplishments? On a spiritual side, Capricorn has to deal with planning for correct destinies and planning for deep accomplishments of spirit and growth and taking, I always think Capricorn is very admirable as well, like taking the admiral road. And Mars and Libra square Venus and Capricorn, it brings up relationships, of course, but it's going to bring up our sides of, where are we willing to stay on control of the wheel? And then the other part is Mars and Libra wants to weigh things out and wants to be fair and just, but Capricorn says it doesn't matter what's going on with fairness or whatever, there's a goal to reach and there's not much emotions. And so it's going to be a lot to process in your own world of which direction to take, what's the right road to take in relationships. And I'd say to be careful about, how people could project onto you as well and how well you deflect that energy and learn to detach from it or learn to leave from it. Mercury in Aquarius will teach you the ability to detach well mentally or your communication. Or on the other hand, it will teach you to radically get involved and radically start to say some crazy things. So I think, there's some caution this week, I think, with how intense the energy is around every direction. But I think you're right. You have your own choices, your own decisions, and your own control of all this. And You know, it's a good test. It's a good boat out at sea, and how well you navigate the seas this week.
Well, and, as you were saying, it's a lot of it is about integrity, personal integrity. You know, being responsible for your participation in the world that you're inhabiting, and being able to resolve things that perhaps other people have set into motion that's in conflict with the world that you're inhabiting. So I think it can be a really exciting period for people if they are willing to act in their own personal level of integrity. But then what we're doing here is it looks like as we continue to advance past this coming full moon, we're starting to build up to another very, very significant shift, and that's the Chinese New Year, and the new moon is coming up, and we're starting the year of the horse. So strength and endurance are going to be also things that we want to start contemplating. The nobility of the workhorse, and the sensuality of the quarter horse and things like that. So this particular full moon does have a lot of implications because it is shifting us through both cycles of a new year energy.
Yeah, and we leave this week with the moon coming into Leo, which will, I think, spark up more, you know, it'll add to the story really nice, and it will oppose the Mercury in Aquarius, which I think there's going to be a lot to process in our own worlds of how to react, how to deal, what are we happy with the situations that have happened, you know, what's going on. And we kind of end this week like with a lot of questions in our own inner world of what makes us happy and what makes us strong. And yeah, it's interesting to see that we come into the year of the horse. I think it's January 31st. That's the day Venus goes direct. And
Yes.
in this year of the horse, I think, will be much more different and much powerful, you know, than the last year, which year of the snake was definitely, I think, a very highlight of the Scorpio realm that we were in this last year. It went really well with that. Yeah, this year of the horse is definitely kind of signaling a kind of the goat, you know. To me, it's signaling the Capricorn, you know, reach for your goals, continue your work, continue your strive to be the best, and continue on that road. And you know, I always heard that, you know, they base the Chinese New Year's kind of based off the Jupiter cycle, from what I heard or remembered.
Yes.
Right? Is that right?
It's exactly right.
Okay.
And
So,
it's also incorporating the four elements. So we just finished up, or we're finishing up, the water snake. And the water snake is the most sensual, but it's also the most scorpionic, just as you said. It's very much a Scorpio energy. Now we're going into the wood horse, and the element of wood is usefulness. You take wood and you can build a fire, you can build a house, you can build a, you know, a wheel. I mean, there's so many things you can do with wood, and then combining that very earthy energy with the idea of the horse advancing and moving forward for this noble beast. It's we're in a very interesting catalytic time, and as we shift between now and the end of January, the big thing is to prepare for some very profound opportunities that will be arriving for us.
yeah, you know, the wood. I'm a wood rat, so that's a good thing.
Yes.
The Chinese astrology has been something I want to get deeper into. I haven't spent much time in it, and I thank you for enlightening us with those details, because it's always been very fascinating to me. But based off a Western astrology point of view, with the Jupiter energy and everything, it's interesting times with Jupiter, because Jupiter's entering this cardinal cross now. As it's retrograde back to 14 degrees, it's starting to get into the middle of this big T-square with Pluto-Uranus, and it's going to sit there. You know, Pluto or Jupiter goes stationary at 10 degrees and doesn't come back online till March 6th. So over the next 2 or month and a half, I'd say, um, we're all going to have to find our positivity in really powerful ways. We're all going to have to see the big picture. We're all going to have to deal with these emotions and these lessons emotionally, and they're not going to be easy. And I wish I could just give you, a truth that was better, but I'm just going to give it, And I think we're going to have to really pay attention to the emotional lessons that we go through. I don't think it's starting as intensely as it will in the coming month, but it's beginning, So
It absolutely is. And the neat thing is that it's happening in Cancer, that fourth house. That's the place where you have put your life. That's where you live. And that's how it's going to be affecting all of us, is in that region of family, friends, home, possession. All of those things are going to be finally reviewed for the last time. And then Jupiter will turn around and start to move forward with, a nice kind of trine energy, as the sun will be activating everything in Pisces. So overall, I would say we're moving toward some very exciting times, some very dynamic times, and a time for dumplings. Most people don't realize how important dumplings are, but in the winter months, good cooks know it's time to pull out the dumplings, and you find them in every culture. You find them in China, you find them in Poland, you find them in Israel. Good food, good cooking, that enrichment that comes into the hearts of those that we're bonded with, because we're sharing our bowls of soup by the hearth, and that's really what this particular time frame is all about.
Yeah, what do the cards say for this?
Well, cards are getting kind of happy here, so we're entering into this weekend with the Nine of Rods, which is, having that sense of being grounded, having both feet solidly on the ground, having a sense of plenty of support around you. All those rods are there that the person can hang on to. So confidence would be the word I would associate with that card as we move into the weekend. If you've been feeling a little shaky, a little weird, it's like, be confident, be happy, be of good cheer. Through the weekend, look at that, the Queen of Cups, a lot of people wanting to share, a lot of people wanting to reach out. Could be a very romantic weekend for a lot of people too, because that Queen of Cups likes intimacy, it likes transparency, and it likes to, share a hot tub every once in a while. As we hit the mid part of the weekend, lots of communication, and again, this is that advance of Mercury into Aquarius. And we're seeing this over and over again reaffirmed. The world is shrinking. The internet has made it possible for us to communicate with people on the other side of the globe, and we're really going to see a lot of that energy coming up as Mercury advances through Aquarius this particular time. As we move into the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it's all about healing. And you can see in the background here the caduceus, that is a symbol of healing, and the Two of Cups, opening up and sharing from the heart. So a lot of healing potential coming in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right in advance of this full moon. And then as we continue into the actual occasion of the full moon, look at this, the World card. Expand your horizons. It's about more than just you and your little fears and panic buttons. It is about making the world a better place and reaching out and recognizing that we're all one big family here. So we need to share from that most essential level of caring about each other. So great cards for the coming week.
Wow, especially a lot of relationship stuff. That Two of Cups, really deep, intimate union, emotional stuff. That Queen of Cups, all these emotions. And I think it's great to see the World card pop up. You and I were kind of talking about community a lot with the full moon, and that World card is the ultimate community card. And
It absolutely is.
yeah.
It even includes kitty cats and ETs because it's in many decks it's seen as the universe card. So we're including everybody in the joyride.
Yeah, if you got some Reese's pieces, make sure you put your hand out. You never know who might like them.
That's right.
Well, thanks, Chris. What an interesting one to go through. I'm really interested to see this full moon. It's the Cancer full moon. It's the natural home of Cancer, and with Jupiter here, this one will be a big one. We'll feel this one.
Oh yeah, and I think that again, if you're operating on that expectation of good outcomes, you're going to have a great outcome this full moon.
Yeah, and I love to just sit back and watch destiny happen. That's why I love astrology. And a Venus retrograde past the sun, there's no coincidence with the events that happen this weekend with the people that you're with and the people that you're doing things with and that you're communicating. And this is where people from the past come up. Always. Really powerful stuff. All these strings you start to see are really interwoven and connected, and it's always this kind of alignment that happens this weekend that brings that up, and I love it. One of my favorite lineups.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be being able to see the pattern that the cosmic weaver is creating for us.
It's my favorite thing about this. So, it was great to talk to you, and I look forward to talking to you next week.
Yeah, you have a super evening and a super weekend, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, buddy. Bye.
Goodbye.